Well, good evening, Archer families. It is wonderful to have the opportunity to spend some time together. I am so sorry that we are online and not currently sat in our upper school dining room at our upper school campus, familiarising ourselves with that environment. But we must continue to very carefully take safety first, particularly with the unfortunately high levels of infection in our community at the moment. Please know that there will be plenty of opportunities, hopefully as things get better from a pandemic perspective, for you to spend time at upper school, for it to become a familiar environment for you as parents, but also for you as young people as well, as we begin now these steady steps, this steady journey towards upper school life and year 10. But the most important thing, aside from whether we are online or in person, is that we are together. This is a key moment in the education of the student, that's you young people, and it's essential that we're feeling really informed and together about how we make those next steps. Despite all of the challenges that we continue to face, it's essential that we do protect this time and the opportunities that it affords you as parents and you, my students, for your education. We have, of course, needed to be a little bit creative in how we've gone about doing it, but please know that the commitment is absolute. And there are some key things that we would like to ensure during our time together this evening, and I hope that they may be things that you value as young people and parents and within your family. So what's the first thing? Let's make a note of them together. That we have some time and some space to be a little bit selfish. Year 9 student, it's all about you tonight. How often does it have to be all about you? Siblings, no. Anything else that's going on in the house, no, it's all about you. I want you, young people, to be thinking about yourself as a scholar. What do you want from your curriculum and your studies? What do you enjoy, feel good about, feel good at? What do you want to spend more time doing? As I said to you in our recent assembly, there are very few times that I, as your head teacher, will tell you to be selfish, and certainly that your parents might agree and enable that time. But tonight is one of those times, so please make it all about you. Second, that it is some time and space to explore your ambitions, young people, for your future. Who could you be? What might you want to be? What is possible? Dreaming big about your future, because absolutely anything is possible. That can feel a bit hard right now when there's an awful lot of doom and gloom around us, and there has been for a prolonged period. But I want you to know that your future is in your gift. Your future is bright. It is not cancelled. Anything is possible because you are an Archer. And with the support of your parents and the support of your staff here at school, we want to ensure that you really do reach for whatever stars you want to reach for. Some time and space to be informed. Decision making is hard. It can feel overwhelming. And the only way to do it well and to feel in control, to enjoy it, to feel empowered by the opportunity it affords, is if we are well informed, as if we are knowledgeable about our GCSE choices and about the implications for future studies. What that might mean for your career opportunities in the future, where you might go after Archer, where you might go after that. It's about knowing what is key to making good decisions for now that keep every door open for the future. But I must be clear, it's not about fixing yourself to a rigid plan. Young people, you are only in year 9 and things change. What you think you want to be now may well change. You don't know what all of those opportunities are that are available to you yet. So having flexibility and different opportunities, different experiences, particularly taking into account the changing nature of our world and most significantly the changing natures of technology. Just look at the past 2 years. It's essential to know that you've got a bit of a plan, you've got some ideas, you've got lots of ambition, but that you can move that around should you seek and find something else. So then finally, time and space. That is what this evening is about. It's about protecting some space to think beyond the immediate and to look forward optimistically and full of hope. I am so hopeful for you, so hopeful for all that I know that you will achieve, experience and, most importantly, enjoy. There are comprehensive opportunities tonight to spend time with a range of subject specialists. There's also our curriculum guide, and I'll flag that to you a little bit later. But parents, it may be useful to have that open on a tablet or a computer next to you on the school website so that you have access to that really detailed information, particularly about exam boards, as you're listening to presentations this evening. Then, following this evening, there will be a series of wider workshops in school with careers agencies, with taster lessons, with some of our partner universities as well, to afford every opportunity for you young people to think big and to see what you might need to do, what steps you might need to do to ensure that that's not just thinking big, but it's getting there as well. So what do we want you to take away from this time this evening? Well, first of all, a real sense of the opportunities that the next stage of your Archer career, your Archer journey affords you, that upper school affords you. Some of you may never even have been there, and we feel very aware of that. But what might upper school look like and feel like? But also our curriculum structure. What does it look like? What are the opportunities it affords? But also the decisions that you need to make. What process do you need to go on? Also the nature of each subject and what it involves, how it is assessed, the content, the skills, that must form an important part of your process. And then finally, the practicalities of the choices process. What do you need to do? And what are the timescales? Young people, you may not be that familiar with the idea of deadlines, but there are deadlines involved in this, form filling involved in this. Those are also some wider life skills. So how will this evening work? Well, we've got a little bit of an overview together now, and then I shall hand over to Mr. Constantino, your very proud head of year, who will do the practicalities and logistics of the slightly more complicated bit with subject leads. Those subject leads will then take you through some specialist videos of their subjects to enable you to really deep dive into what their curriculums involve. Then we will bring you all back together again for a panel of Q&A where we put all of our subject leads into the hot seat, and Mr. Constantino will probe them with questions. Those questions come from you, and Mr. Constantino will show you how to do that using the chat a little bit later. And then I'll come back with a bit of a roundup towards the end. There will be, obviously, the need to use lots of different technology this evening, but we hope that our instructions have been really clear. We hope that it will be a shared, empowering experience where we do feel that we've come together as a community. But for now, let's just take some moments to immerse a bit in the vision, the values and the ambitions for this exciting and defining part of an Archer journey. For it is you now beginning the final stage of your Archer journey, the final step within the Archer graduate, that of the Archer scholar, where we are seeking to enable you to further grow into those mature, sophisticated, accomplished young people. Is that you already? I know it's some of you. Some of you are almost very nearly there as well. Some of you may have a bit further to go. But where are you in meeting the thresholds for the Archer scholar? I'm going to slip through now and just put some slides in front of you to enable you to have some information in front of you whilst I'm talking. So if we begin to think about upper school, that has to be a part of these curriculum decisions, because we will move from this building to the upper school site. Our upper school is a beautiful campus, and we know how fortunate we are to have it. It is our GCSE centre. But really, the fixtures and fittings, however wonderful they are, with our study spaces, our library, our computer science suites, our Mac suites, our specialist laboratories and studios, a new outside garden that's being developed. All of these things are wonderful, but really it is just very nice packaging. I want you to have the best, the very best, and I'm committed to that, to ensuring that you can excel in all of your subjects. But what is actually really most and more important is many of the things that stay the same. and that is your teachers, your support staff, the relationships that you have with them, the Archer way. That is very much at the core of everything that happens at upper school, just as it is at lower school. It's about being kind. It's about working hard. It's about putting those two things front and centre. All of that, as I've said, stays the same, but it does evolve as you mature. How you will work with your teachers and your support staff, that will also evolve. That can be one of the nicest things about relationships between students and staff, the joy of some of that banter that comes with a slightly more mature relationship. But all of that is only enabled very much by mindset change, and that is the mindset change that we will be supporting you with over the coming weeks and months. It's a mindset of taking every opportunity to be the very best that we can. It's a mindset of embracing every opportunity. It's about adopting the mindset of who you want to be as well as who you are, so that you can grow in confidence, in character. I want you to enjoy every step of the journey, but I also at times want you to make yourself feel a bit uncomfortable. I want you to take risks. I want you to work as hard as you can and feel the real joys of that labour. So how do we help that mindset change? Well, we help it, first of all, in our uniform change. We want you to look and feel the part of being a bit more mature. So there is a shift and change in that uniform, which we've had in place since our first group of students moved to the upper school. It's always been very, very well received. There is a change to the blazer, and there's also a change in the design of the skirt and the trousers to help you feel more mature. That shift, we feel, supports that mindset that we are looking forward to. But where else is there shift and change? Well, that comes also in freedom. We do give you and hope you to have more freedom during your time in our GCSE centre at upper school. For example, you will commute between upper school and lower school for PE and perhaps music and other specialist subjects, and we expect you to do that independently, following our safeguarding expectations, of course. With our student leadership team, we hope and expect you to run your own student societies, to take on the position of head students, to further shape our school both now and for the future. So a clear tone is set, that of an Archer journey, that where you are building the bricks for your own future selves, whilst enjoying the opportunity to have a little bit more freedom, a little bit more independence, a little bit more maturity. And I want you to embrace that opportunity. But for you to be able to have that mindset change, your curriculum needs to shift as well. And we invest very heavily in the curriculum here at school, and you will know how heavily praised it was by Ofsted. Because for you to be able to become that Archer scholar, your curriculum needs to be right for you. And what is right for you may be different to that of another person. It needs to be more personalised. You deserve more space to be the true architect of your own learning, and we have really felt and seen the impact and benefits of that over a number of years. So it is now time for you to shape your GCSE portfolio. It's not common in many other schools to have quite so much choice as you do have here, but also quite so much opportunity to build on the experiences that you have had at Archer in Year 9, where of course having curriculum choice is almost unheard of. But seeing you Year 9 on Mondays and Wednesdays, when you're really having the benefit of your curriculum days, really stands out to me about why we're doing something important here at school. So we now need to begin to think about what this curriculum looks like. So we're going to look now away from some of those visions and values for a moment and into the sort of process side of things, so that you can become that expert of your own learning. The upper school curriculum is organised into a series of blocks. Please note that those blocks are different to the colours that we use currently for students in Year 9. And those blocks outline different sets of key subjects. And you have some flexibility around them. So let's have a look at those blocks here. OK, you have your core subjects, which you know you have to do from a statutory perspective in terms of your English, your maths and your combined science. Here at school, we also have an expectation that almost every student will take French or Spanish. Some of you, of course, may take functional skills. But that's a core part of something called the English Baccalaureate that I shall touch on a little bit later. You then have 3 blocks, your purple block, your green block and your grey block. And you can choose whatever subject you want from across those 3 blocks, whatever's right for you. But our rule here at school is that almost all of you should take at least history or geography. You may, of course, take both, but you must take at least one. And the reason again for that is something called the English Baccalaureate. That's about ensuring that you have the very best of a breadth in your academic curriculum, the breadth that is so well respected by universities, colleges and employers, so that you do stand out from the crowd and you do have a very facilitated nature to your curriculum so that you can go on and have real flexibility in the future. Whatever else you do around that history or geography is completely up to you. You then have your non-examined sort of statutory aspects of your curriculum. One element of that, of course, is core PE, and the other is what we call spec that you're familiar with in Year 9, and that's very much looking at the sex education, drugs education that you need to have as you're growing up, but also more broadly around politics, economics, citizenship, so that you've got that broader element of things that you need to be enabled in your future academic self and in wider society as well. So I've mentioned this term, English Baccalaureate. It really does take a priority here at school. And that is because we know that it is a combination of facilitating subjects that is appropriate for the majority of our students. And it means that you will take both English subjects, your combined science, which does increase to 4 hours per week in Year 10 and 11, mathematics, and your foreign language or functional skills. And again, that increases to 3 hours. The reason for the increase around the sciences and the languages is to ensure that our students have every opportunity of curriculum success. These subjects are, of course, very dense, and we want to ensure that you are supported in truly realising your potential. You then add in either history or geography, and you decide where you want to take that from. We slot in your PE and your spec, and within all of that, there is also an incredible vocational pathway here at school. I've highlighted that the English Baccalaureate is right for most students, but it's certainly not right for all. And over the years, we have really built our vocational options, and we're really proud of this. So there are a series of subjects in engineering, health and social care, business, childcare that may also be subjects that are right for your child in enabling them to realise their potential. So my rule around the history and the geography sits here. Let's see how that might work in person. Well, one place for you to get that information from will be on the school website, and this is the guide that I mentioned at the beginning that I think you will find particularly useful. I think you may particularly find page 8 useful, but if you go to the Year 10 page on the school website and you click on GCSE Guide 2022-2024, you will see this document open up, and in there is all of the specific information about the different subjects. So that's one way to help start making our decisions. But the next then is to add a layer of being really informed about those choices. And it comes by looking at the blocks. And in those blocks are a series of subjects. Now those blocks do not move and the subjects do not move. You have to work within that format that is enabled to you. One of the things that I said to the young people, and I've always said this, in fact, with many years of experience of going through this process, is that you need to start with your spotlight. So if we could all for a moment imagine you're holding a torch or perhaps the light on your phone. What's the most important subject for you, young people? What's the one that you most want to do? And you put your spotlight on that subject, and then you make all of your other decisions around that one subject because that's the one that's most important. You will see that we've made the history and geography choice really very easy. A real phenomenal option here at school, and that is that history and geography sit in every block so that you're not limited in any way around your broader choices. Now, when I was at school many millions of years ago, my spotlight subject would have been on history, and I would have been very fortunate there, for history was my absolute passion because I could have chosen that in any subject block. But if your absolute passion is psychology, you know that you have a fixed decision in the green block. And so therefore you need to look at what else is going to happen for you in the purple and the grey block. So that's a good way of thinking through how to approach this. Now, the other very exciting part of our curriculum, of course, is the white block. The white block operates through our enrichment programme, and now at upper school, enrichment becomes known as Archer Plus. And what you can see on the white block column there is that there are a series of opportunities for additional accredited options, and there may be further subjects as well once we move into September. Many students choose to do an additional GCSE during this time or an accredited course, because these really do help our young people to stand out from the crowd and to have a series of qualifications and learning experiences that other young people in other schools may not have had. Further maths, citizenship, which I teach myself and hope I may be able to accrue quite a few of you from Year 9. Contemporary music, religious studies, extended project. That's something to really go and have a good research about. But that's just something to bear in mind. And as I said, there are further subjects. You will have the opportunity to explore that and to make those decisions in the summer term as part of your taster programme for upper school. Now, within the context of making these decisions, what we do have to do is to just be very conscious of the reality. And the reality is that these are big decisions and that the world of examinations has been incredibly complicated over the last 2 years owing to the pandemic. But it got a little bit complicated before that as well, owing to the huge structural change that had been undertaken from 2016 onwards. But it's important that I'm really clear with you that at this point, as we begin on this journey from 2022 to 2024, that's a bit scary, that you young people should expect to sit at least 23 exams to cover your core curriculum offer. Now that is immense, and it is more than certainly I had experienced leading previous year groups through these processes before the changes in 2016. That's an awful lot of exams. And that needs to be part of your decision making here about what suits you and what works for you. I don't share that with you to scare you, because I know that we will best prepare you to flourish, but it is a reality we need to be conscious of. Now, subject choices will require you to take on average another 6 to 9 exams, but how many you take there will depend on the types of subjects you take. Some have more exams and some have less exams. So if you have a tendency for coursework and portfolios, that might be something to bear in mind, although there are a lot less coursework options now than there used to be in the future. But I must put a real caveat here that all of this is subject to change, and we do expect some further changes in the coming years owing to the experiences of the pandemic. Now, I hope that all of this really does sound very exciting. But I'm also aware that it can feel overwhelming and daunting at times. Experience has certainly taught me, having led many former year groups through this process, that that is to be expected. So if you're feeling a bit torn, please know you're just normal. Making decisions is hard and it can feel really final. There are many points when you might find yourself asking, what if? And you could be in danger at that stage of overthinking things just a little bit. The key, as I've mentioned a couple of times this evening, is to be informed. And to be informed is to be thoughtful, to take time and to respect. So how do we make good choices? You make sure you ask yourself some really important questions of yourself, of your parents, of your teachers, perhaps older siblings who've been through this yourself. And the questions I'd like you to ask yourself are these. How do you like to learn? How do you like to study? Where could it lead you? What is the thing at school that you find most exciting? Is it books, ideas, theories, hands-on learning, group work? What is it that you love? What is it that you would put that spotlight on? Do you enjoy working collaboratively with others, or do you enjoy working more on your own? Because as you move through upper school, you will steadily become more of a subject specialist and less of a generalist. And that's what universities, employers are really looking for, that you are passionate about your subject and it will need to become your subject. I hope that there will be some light bulb moments over the coming couple of years. You may have already have some. I do hope so. Parents, I'm sure you can remember when yours happened, when your real passion fell into place. But that potential future personal statement for UCAS will need to form and embody that subject passion and specialism. So young people, which subject do you already love and do you already have a passion for? For me, the key message is to do what you love, what you are best at. To keep it simple, you will probably find that your initial instant decision is the one that you keep coming back to. Have a go at that spotlight activity. Spotlight on that subject. Make your wider choices around it. Move them around a bit. Please know that you may have to have some compromise. But by putting your priorities on the most important thing, it should enable your decision making to feel more controlled, for you to feel that you have more control over the decisions you're making. Now, we've mentioned this evening a lot already about being informed and ready for our futures. I want you to be thinking excitedly about that, but I do also want you to remember that Baz Luhrmann song. Parents, I'm showing my age a bit here, but I'm sure you know it. Baz Luhrmann and his famous Sunscreen song. And in that song, he states that the most interesting people many of us know did not know what they wanted to do when they were 30. It's okay not to know, as long as we're enjoying the ride and we're working really hard at everything that's in front of us, that we're keeping our doors open. And to keep those doors open, we need to have the very best grades and the very best broader holistic experiences that extracurricular and enrichment can afford us. All of that creates that opportunity for thinking ambitiously about that step beyond Archer. And whilst we won't speak extensively about life beyond Archer this evening, that's a little bit far too daunting, it's important to be conscious now about our partnership sixth forms that we work with. We do particularly, of course, work very closely with Woodhouse College, and we have the incredible opportunity of our young people having priority admissions to Woodhouse College as part of that partnership. And that is that you are first in the queue. As long as you meet the admissions criteria, then you are guaranteed a place at one of the top 4 sixth form colleges nationally, where our young people are flourishing and they're experiencing the very best A-level curriculum they can. So it's worth perhaps just going now and having a little look, not tonight, but a little bit later, at that Woodhouse website and starting to get a bit of a taste of it. Oh, where might this take me? That puts a little bit more control back in your hands again, and it's exciting to look. You might see lots of photos of students you recognise from Archer as well. We then do work very closely with Barnet and Southgate College, who provide a fantastic vocational curriculum. But we are also seeing, with the incredible work that Ms Brammy is leading on, that there are so many wider vocational settings that offer very specialist provision. And we're seeing an increasing number of our young people going to City and Islington College, going to the London Screen Academy, to Westminster College. And these colleges are affording an incredible package of subjects to our young people, alongside provision for apprenticeships. So please be ready to hear a lot about Woodhouse in the coming year or so, but also about our vocational pathways and about apprenticeships. And some of that will start with our Careers Day on Friday, where we just start to introduce you to what is possible, what is out there, what could be there for you. So young people, what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to hand over to Mr. Constantino, and he is going to do the practical elements of the next steps of our evening. I hope that you enjoy it. I hope, young people, you enjoy being the absolute centre of attention with your parents this evening, where remember, you're allowed to be selfish and it's all about you. But I would encourage you to be being ambitious, to being thoughtful, and to thinking about what this affords you. What's in your gift here? This independence and this freedom we're giving you. I look forward to seeing you a little bit later after you've watched your subject videos and hopefully providing some next steps on this journey. Mr. Constantino, over to you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Harrison. I will get straight onto it because we've heard a lot of information already, and I want to spend as much time as possible looking at your the videos from your heads of departments. So I've sent the links out for all the videos via email. You should have received it at 5:30, so good timing. And also on Show My Homework or Satchel 1 in both a Word document and a PDF format. You can open that up, click on the links, and it should take you through to a Microsoft Stream video. If you have any concerns with those or you're struggling to access it, I will be available for the next hour on my emails to support you as best I can from a distance. We'll reconvene at 6:30, and if you could put any Q&A or questions that you have in the Q&A by clicking at the button at the top, it's got 2 question marks, and typing your question in there and what subject it's related to, and I will make sure that we then post those and get those answered for you. If you need anything, please do email, but other than that, we'll see you at 6:30. Thank you very much. Hello, welcome back. I hope you managed to watch as many of the videos as you possibly could. We will move on to our question and answer element of the evening. I want to start with one just kind of general piece of information. We had a question about whether people could choose 2 choices from the same block. That's not possible. So you would need to pick 1 from the purple block, 1 from the green block, and 1 from the grey block. Just to clarify that, it's 1 from each block. Our first question is going to go to Miss Humphrey. If a student chooses the enrichment choice that's music based, do they get a GCSE for it? Miss Humphrey.
Hi. The course that we offer in enrichment is a Rock School of London award, and it is not the equivalent of a GCSE. It does come with some UCAS points, and it's designed for students who are into music production and music tech. So it's not a performance course. It is to do with using DAW, which is digital audio workstations, a bit like the ones I've got behind me. But yes, for really enthusiastic music tech potentials. It would not work as a pathway to A-level music, if anyone was wondering that as a follow-up. So no, it's not the equivalent of a GCSE. It does lend itself nicely, though, to composition if you wanted to do both.
Thank you, Miss Humphrey. Second question for Mr. Oakley. Do you have to have studied a subject in Year 9 to be able to take it into Year 10?
Yeah, thank you. That's a really good question. It comes up every year. So the short answer is no, you do not have to have studied the subject in Year 9. But you do have to bear in mind you'll be joining a class where a lot of the students may have been studying that subject already for a whole year, and therefore there would be quite a bit of catching up to do to get up to speed. What I would really strongly recommend in that case is that you do talk directly to the head of department to find out exactly what that course is like, and so you can get a sense of what that catch-up work would entail, because you're going to have to be quite enthusiastic to get up to speed. So the short answer is no, you don't have to study it in Year 9. The longer answer is you need to be careful that you have enough enthusiasm and determination to be able to get up to speed to join the class at that stage. Okay, thank you. Back to Mr. Constantino.
Thank you. For Ms. Bowles, is it necessary to study triple science in order to become a doctor?
That's a good question. In terms of if you have got aspirations to study medicine, it's certainly an excellent idea to study triple science because it helps you transition between GCSEs and A-levels. So I think if you're considering that as a profession, it would be an excellent choice. It just makes that transition between GCSE and A-level easier. And if you want to do medicine, then you certainly would have to do biology and chemistry at A-level.
Thank you, Ms. Bowles. A couple of questions for Ms. Brammy. Can anyone take one of the vocational courses? And if you do take a vocational course, is it recognised by Woodhouse?
Okay,
You can take more than one vocational course. As it stands, the information that I have currently from Woodhouse, Woodhouse doesn't recognise the grade for vocational. However, other colleges do recognise, and that adds up to the percentage, your overall percentage score on all your GCSE subjects. But as it stands now, that GCSE in vocational doesn't go towards your overall percentage score point.
Thank you, Ms. Grammy.
Was there anything else? Can it take more than one or just one?
Yeah, just can anyone take one? And I suppose,
yeah,
can they take
of
more
course
than one?
They can take one, and there are students that take 2 vocational subjects, but we need to have those discussions where they need to be. But you can definitely take one, and if it's your choice, why not?
Thank you, Ms. Grammy. Back to you, Mr. Oakley. What happens if you change your mind once you've started a course in year 10?
Yeah, thank you. That's another really good question. So my recommendation to you all would be to really take advantage of the opportunity tonight and to really look through the information available to you, to go and talk to the teachers so this isn't an issue come September, because of course if you were to change, and we don't like it when students change because it means you're going to have to catch up, but of course sometimes mistakes do happen and so situations change. You are going to put yourself in a difficult spot because you are then going into a class where they probably moved on at pace from the start of year 10 and you're going to have to catch up. So you really don't want to be in that situation. That's why this evening and all the information available to you is so important, so that you get a real sense of what that subject is all about, exactly what's going to be expected of you, how it's going to be assessed, so you can make a really good quality decision to support you come September. It's also worth pointing out that if you do request a change in September, the answer isn't necessarily going to be yes because you've made that request, because that class may already be full, and therefore you wouldn't be able to join that class at that stage. So it all points back to making a really good quality decision over the next couple of weeks, so that isn't an issue come September. But of course we're not going to force a child to go through a subject if it's really not in their best interest, if that's how it turns out in September. Okay, so I hope that answers that question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. For Mr. Ruffles, what disadvantage would a student be at not selecting psychology GCSE if they then went on to do it for A-level?
Great question. They wouldn't really be any disadvantage because it's quite a small GCSE nationally speaking. So A-level psychology courses won't expect you to come with a GCSE, but conversely, it'll be a huge advantage to have it because you will be sort of head and shoulders above the rest of the cohort in terms of a lot of the content. The course we study, OCR psychology, actually shares about half the topics with the most popular A-level, which is the AQA specification, the one that Woodhouse does. So you will have a big advantage doing it. You won't lose anything by not studying at GCSE.
And one more for you, actually, Mr. Ruffles. How high a level of maths do you need for economics?
So with economics, you'll be doing a lot of statistics and graph work. It's a little bit more applied than sort of theoretical maths, but still you'll be, well, we'd recommend that you are going for at least working towards grade of 6 in maths before you then think about doing economics, because it is heavily an applied mathematical subject, as well as being an essay-based subject as well. So it's a dual skill set you need.
Thank you. Miss Debbie and Miss Thornley, this relates to both, but if we start with Miss Debbie, what if they can't decide between history and geography?
It's a good question. It's a question that gets asked quite a lot. I think the first thing to say is that they can obviously pick both, and from the option blocks you'll see that history and geography appear in every single box. So it's very, very possible to pick both history and geography. If it came down to a decision of which one to pick, I think Ms. Harrison's advice about which one you'd put your spotlight on, I think is definitely something to consider there. And as well, I think it really comes down to which one are you enjoying the most and which one do you see the most value in? Because I think what you enjoy the most and see the most value in will result in you not only doing very well in your exams and doing really well in the course, but actually enjoying your 2 years of that history GCSE or geography GCSE course.
Thank you, Miss Debbie. And Miss Thornley, anything to add? Miss Thorner, you're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, I just want to add to what Mr. Debbie was saying. With regards to obviously history and geography being in every option block, but obviously because you don't have to choose between either of them, I have to say a lot of students that actually do history and geography at the moment find that there are quite a lot of elements that complement each other, especially the essay writing skills, and some of that just broader knowledge of the world as well that you get in modern day history.
Lovely, thank you. Miss Randall, is it possible to do both dance and drama, and would you recommend it if so?
Miss Randall's asked that I take this question. And yes, it is possible for you to do 2 CPA subjects. And we've had many students who've really enjoyed that, any combination of the 3, in fact. So yes, you can see within the option blocks that is available. So there's, yeah, you're absolutely welcome to choose 2 if you like having that kind of creative outlook during your week. Then yes, of course.
Thank you. Mr. Pearson, someone is torn between DT and engineering. Are you able to just summarise the kind of key points for each as to what might help them make their decision?
So there are some distinct differences between DT and engineering. One of them is how they're assessed. So DT is assessed in the number system, the GCSE grade 9 to 1, whereas engineering is a vocational, pass, merit and distinction. The amount of theory content is different. So DT is 50% coursework and 50% theory, with engineering is 60% coursework and 40% theory. With the theory in the engineering, you actually get 2 attempts at the assessment. However, there may be some changes that are going through at the minute through the exam board, so we will update you with any changes. There is also some difference with actually the curriculum in terms of what you're doing. So DT is a bit more sketching based, coming up with designs. So you're doing your own design work, whereas engineering, we're making what the exam board tells us to make. So based more on accuracy and your skills, whereas DT is a bit more creative. Hopefully that helps. Back to Sir.
Lovely, thank you. A question for you, Mr. Oakley. Is it possible to have a different foreign language? And if so, what would be the implications on university admissions?
Yeah, thanks. So at the moment we are a French and Spanish school primarily. That's what our subject department is all about. But we are exploring offering Italian as an Archer Plus subject done through enrichment. That's something we're looking into at the moment. I can't make any promises there, but that is a possibility for students to choose as an extra GCSE during enrichment time. I'm not aware of any implications in terms of university applications. You know, Italian, Spanish and French, any modern foreign language has the same equivalence, doesn't make any difference there.
And one more for you, Mr. Oakley. Have there been occasions where popular subjects are oversubscribed? And if so, how do we decide who's successful to study it?
Yeah, funny enough, we've been doing this for a number of years now, and that situation has never really arisen. It always just seems to work out somehow. So that's been, you know, really good news that students have been able to do the subjects they've wanted to do. But as it does say in the guide, if we did face a situation where we hit a limit as the number of students who could do a certain subject, simply a physical limit, then we would have to look at some of the students and have some individual conversations with them about why they might want to consider some other subjects. But fingers crossed, so far that situation hasn't been one that we faced, and I hope so for this time around again.
Lovely, thank you. Ms. Bowles, we've got another one for you. If someone wants to study higher physics, does that mean they have to pick triple science?
So if they do triple science, they can mix and match whether they do higher or foundation papers. So they could do foundation in biology and chemistry and then higher in physics. That is not an option on the combined paper. So on the combined paper, if they if that's their option, then they have to sit higher across the board or foundation across the board in all 3.
Lovely, thank you. Miss Humphrey, speaking on behalf of Miss Randall, if a student chose dance GCSE, where do they go next? And do you know if Woodhouse offer it as an A level?
Woodhouse do offer it as an A level. So you would be able to take dance further on. I mean, in the event that they do not run the course, there are also other local schools that run it on a Saturday, I believe. So you'd be able to pick that up further. But you know, dance lends itself to a number of different subjects in terms of, you know, wanting to have it as an indication of confidence, regardless of what you study at A level.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ruffles, is doing both economics and business covering the same things, or are they a good combination?
No, they're not covering the same things, because economics is, I guess, a bit more zoomed out, so to speak. So you're looking far more at macroeconomics, the effects of government policies and that kind of thing, whereas with business studies itself is a far more applied subject. So it'll be far more about the nuts and bolts of running a business, kind of on the ground, so to speak. So they are complementary, but I would say that the skill sets required for both kind of sometimes rarely occur together. See what I mean? Economics requires quite a specific set of skills in terms of essay writing and maths, that lends itself perhaps to a more kind of abstract thinking approach to life.
Thank you. Mr. Pearson, are there any GCSEs you would suggest taking if you want to go on to study architecture outside of DT or engineering?
Sorry, sir, can you just repeat that again? It just cut out a little bit.
Yeah, no problem. Are there any GCSEs you'd suggest taking to go on to study architecture at university outside of DT and engineering?
Yeah, art and design is a good combination. Actually, lots of art and design students do go on to study architecture through sixth form, so that's another avenue you can go. Of course, DT is a perfectly good combination along with physics for architecture and engineering. So they're the three best combinations, really: engineering, DT, and art and design.
Excellent, thank you. It's not one I'm certain on, but I'm wondering if one of us can help with which subjects we need to study to try and study law. Mr. Oakley, any idea?
Yeah, thanks. I would suggest that history would be the most obvious subject there for law. I don't know too much beyond that, but I think history would be the nailed-on certainty for me.
Thank you. I'm just having a look through quickly to see if we've got any other questions in here. Mr. Ruffles, what's the main difference in terms of topics and assessments between sociology and psychology?
So the biggest difference really is that psychology is a far more scientific subject. So the exam contains far fewer essays. So sociology is roughly half essay based in the exam. So there are 4 essays per paper, so 8 in total. Whereas in psychology, there's 1 per paper. So the assessment style is very different. Also, as you mentioned earlier, actually, no, sorry, I didn't mention earlier, apologies, I forgot, mixed of economics. There's more maths involved in psychology, so about 10% of your grade will come from mathematics skills in psychology. So that's the application of maths to tables and graphs. Is not necessarily very challenging maths, but it is about applying it in context. Was there anything else to that question? Sorry, I'm rambling.
No, I think that's good, thank you.
Cool, thanks.
Ms. Bowles, someone's asked how much opportunity there is for practical experiments in triple science.
Yeah, great question. So there are many opportunities for practical science in triple. There are more required practicals in the triple course that you study. So you do get exposure to a wider range of experimental techniques on the triple course, which will really help bridge the gap between GCSE and A level. So for example, in GCSE chemistry, we study a special technique called a titration, and that's only on the triple course. You would not study that on the combined course, and that's a major part of the chemistry A level. So certainly there are plenty of opportunities for practical work on triple, but there are also in combined as well.
Great, thank you. We have a question about PE GCSE, and if the sport is not on the school list, are they able to do it for PE? The answer to that is, as long as it is on the AQA list, we would help you do that with your external club, but it wouldn't happen in school. And now I've noticed Miss Alcock has just popped up. So Miss Alcock, do you want to add anything to that? You're on mute.
Just 1 second. Wait, we'll get the line.
Yeah, you're available now.
Okay, thank you. If the sport is listed on the AQA specification, we can absolutely take it, but the student will need to be assessed externally, which we do with their coaches outside of school. So yeah, we can do that. We'll discuss it kind of across year 10 and year 11, but so long as they are doing that from year 8, year 9, that isn't a problem at all.
Fantastic, thank you. Ms. Bowles, one more for you. They're obviously very interested about experiments in science. Is there a difference between dissection in combined to triple science?
So you study, with combined, you do study the anatomy of the heart, so that could include a dissection. Depending on the lessons that we have planned. With triple, you study how the kidney works, so that might also include a dissection, but there isn't a big difference in terms of that.
Great, thank you. I notice that we are running a little bit out of time. I'm going to go through the Q&A after this as well, and any additional questions that we may have missed, I will make sure that I pick those up and respond via email to all of you. I would like to just go talk a little bit about what the next steps are, because I think that's important before we then move on. So the final deadline for making your choices is the 25th of February. We have LRD on the 24th, where you will have a 20-minute appointment with a key member of staff. It might be your form tutor, it might be me, or a couple of others helping out. You should be prepared on the 24th of February to come in and have a conversation with that teacher around the choices you've made and why you've made them, I suppose, and proving to us that you have focused on that spotlight subject that you really want. After that, you will either fill in a form with your tutor at that point, or you will go away for the afternoon and make any changes you might need to make, but it will all be done via an online form. Okay. Throughout the next 3 weeks, we will be talking about this in form time. We've got our careers fair on Friday, which is linking very nicely to this kind of process that we're going through. So if you've got any other questions in between now and the 24th of February, can I encourage you to get in contact with your form tutor or with myself? I'm going to pass back over to Miss Harrison now to kind of close us off, but thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Constantino, and colleagues. Thank you for so ably taking part in the hot seating there. Some very good questions, Archer families. Thank you. May I apologise profusely for any technical difficulties that you experienced during the course of this evening. We had rehearsed heavily this evening, including some practices with a number of you families at home, and are incredibly disappointed that we continue to experience some challenge. Please do bear with us. We are hopeful that we may not have to do these sorts of things in this way for much longer, but we also appreciate that you do deserve better in terms of the consistency of our online broadcast. So please know we are taking every step to ensure that that's done well. I hope, however, that you have enjoyed your time this evening, young person being the absolute centre of attention, exploring and looking at those different subjects and thinking about what it is that you want to do, how you genuinely are an architect of the next part of your curriculum. I'm going to remind you of that core piece of advice that was so helpfully reminded and refreshed by Miss Debbie just a few minutes ago, and that's about your spotlight. Start by putting that torch on the subject that is most important to you. What do you love? What are you good at? What can you look forward to spending much more time doing so that you genuinely can become that subject specialist? Start there and work out from there. Take every opportunity to feel good about the decisions that you are making, because absolutely anything is possible now, and it's so nice to have that flexibility after such a restricted period of time in broader life. So much is within your gift, so please do seize that. But right now, it's about making the most of Year 9. Yesterday, I sat in a Year 11 one-to-one interview. I interviewed with Mr. Gillow and the head of Year 11, all of Year 11 students, twice during the course of the year to ensure that they have every support in advance of their exams. And this student sat in front of me yesterday in the worst possible place I would ever want one of my young people and said, "Miss, you were right in Year 9. And I looked at him and I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "You said I didn't work hard enough in Year 9. I don't want you to be that young person, because we'll do everything we can to hold that young person's hand and take them through the next steps." But it was a bit of a sad and miserable moment for both of us. Year 9 is here for a reason. It's here for you to build the foundations for what comes next, because hard work really does pay off, and it feels good. It's a prize worth having to get the results you want, but also just to feel good about learning, good about the passion of the subject you are exploring. I would urge you to pay particular attention to your core subjects, to your foreign languages and to humanities. They really need a push because they're at the very heart of your English Baccalaureate and that academic programme that you have moving into Year 10 and 11. Are you struggling anywhere at the moment with those subjects? Do you need any help and support with those core subjects, with your MFL, with your humanities? Do you need any more challenge? Please ask those questions of yourself, because you truly do need to get used to putting the maximum in and getting used to what maximum feels like, so that that transition to Year 10 feels something that you do in your stride and not something that can lead to the occasional stumble. Now, you will know, particularly students, maybe more so than parents, that Winston Churchill is a bit of a favourite of mine. And back when you were in Year 7 students, you did a project all about different icons and what they meant. And you might remember exploring Miss Harrison's interest in Winston Churchill. And he said this rather beautiful thing that feels very apt at this point in Year 9, when I'm saying you need to get used to putting the maximum in. And he said this: continuous effort, not strength or intelligence, is the key to unlocking potential. That feels very timely, doesn't it? It is all in your control and our control how your subjects and how your learning proceeds in the coming weeks and months. We, your teachers, will firmly hold your hand. We will do everything that we can to ensure and enable your success, but you need to do a lot of that yourself as well. So please know that we want to do that for you, young people. But for parents, working with you and alongside you to enable your young person to realise their potential is what we are here to do. It's our greatest privilege to do that, and we look forward to supporting you and them on the journey over the coming weeks, months and years. I do hope that you feel informed about the next stage. I would urge you to have a bit of a big think, a reflect, go back to that spotlight, go back to lining up what it is you want to look forward to. Then think about the opportunities that will be afforded on Friday with your Careers Day, another chance to think about who and what might be possible in your bright and wonderful future. We'll then proceed into a series of workshops and opportunities before beginning your upper school taster programme in the summer, where you'll get to experience some of these new subjects, spend time at upper school, and hopefully, parents, you can spend some time with us at upper school as well. I'm very tired of the novelty of parents. I would like to spend much more time with you in person. So thank you so much for your time and attention this evening. I very much look forward to hearing about how your young person is making their decisions. But if you need any help, time, guidance or support, please do not hesitate to reach out to Mr. Constantino, any of the heads of department or myself. We're here to firmly hold that hand and ensure that that potential truly is realised. Thank you so much for your support. Good night.